Hi guys, this is Jason Hidalgo and Cameron Dern with the Reno Gazette-Journal, and we're here today with actor Michael Rooker for Reno Comic Con, star of such movies as Guardians of the Galaxy and the TV series The Walking Dead. How are you, Michael?
I'm good, man. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. So, have you been to Reno before? Welcome to Reno.
I've been through Reno several times, but I've never hung out here.
Oh, okay. And now, obviously, you're a popular draw for these types of events. And you're already popular before. I assume that you're even more popular now with Guardians. And what's the appeal for you as far as coming to these types of shows?
Well, you know what? It's all fan based. So all this is basically for the fans. So we have a good time at it. The shows are filled with great artists, comic book artists and everything, and so everyone has a good time. They come over and say hello. Get an autograph and meet and talk and that's about it. It's yeah. It all ends up being, give me the mic, jeez.
All right.
It all ends up being all good. It's all good. So tell me, guys, where are you from?
I am from Reno, Nevada, so I'm from here.
You are, and how long you been here?
This current trip about 3 years. I was in the military for 4, so.
Right on. What'd you do?
I was IT. I worked on computers.
IT.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's not a reporter, so he says he's kind of nervous.
He's a technical guy.
He's a geek, so that's
So
why he's
you're
here.
oh, right on then.
Matter expert.
Oh, right on. Well, you should never ever allow the actor to get the mic.
You're doing a better job than we were.
No, you guys are doing great. Well, it's easier to go like this and like this. I think.
That is true. But
Yeah.
you have to do more.
What do you think? No, I don't. I know. So you have a question, don't you? What's some of your tech questions?
Well, my tech question is, technically speaking, who at Comic-Con do you most like talking to out of the other stars?
Nobody.
Nobody.
None whatsoever. Actually, there's not a lot of time, except for maybe in the evening you go on, have a little dinner, a few drinks. You bump into each other in the green room when you take a break, but other than that, everybody's doing their own thing. And the lines can be pretty long, and so you don't have a lot of time to go around socializing. Every now and then I leave my table and run around and have a goofy time.
Yeah, Bruce Campbell was telling us about your guys' little escapades and how he likes running into you at the Comic-Con and the little adventures that happen, like making fun of or trying to make each other laugh while they're signing stuff. Or
He said is that he would walk by while you're signing, and when he sees you, he'll shout at the top of his voice, "Oh my God, it's Michael Rooker!" That's my impression of what he did.
That's a very good impression of Bruce Campbell. That sounds just like him. Actually, you look a little bit like him. You need a suit and tie, though.
Yeah.
So what else? What else? How you guys doing? You gonna be roaming around the convention or what? Yeah.
It's one of the few times we could indulge our nerdiness on the job and get paid for it, so it's a great deal.
Well, you guys have a good time then.
Yes. Like we're pretty much kind of the audience that these types of events attract. Although we don't get to go to as much, so it's always great when we have an opportunity to do so.
Right on. And yourself, because you're a tech guy, you're usually in the back cornered room somewhere hidden away. Is this your first con?
This isn't my first con. I've been to a couple. Like when I was stationed in El Paso, I went to El Paso Comic Con. There's a good group of people there. But this is my first real big Wizard World type convention. So.
Oh, right on. Well, it's your first Wizard World, and what do you think? Is it? Have you been over to the venue yet? Is it very well organized, or what?
We're heading over after this, so I'll get to check it out right after this interview.
I think you're going to find that it's quite organized, and we set it all up so that the artist alley is all really cool. The fans can come through and look at all the art, and so and then the actors and the celebrity people are all sort of like icing on the cake, I think.
Now, speaking of the fans, what's the weirdest interaction or gift you've ever gotten as far as these types of events?
You know what? People do bring gifts. I'm popular with the Mallrats crowd, so they bring chocolate-covered pretzels for me, and there's art fan art galore, so I get a lot of that, and just a lot of hugs and greetings, you know.
It's a big deal. Now, you've always had a following. You've been in like some pretty good movies. Actually, the first movie I saw you in was Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise, and then you've had a pretty varied career after that. And in fact, with Guardians, I was talking to my niece just recently, and she said, "Oh, I'm talking to this guy from Guardians." And when I talked about you, it's like, "Ooh, it's the blue guy who whistles." So, what do you think about your fan base expanding even now to like younger audiences?
You know what? Speaking of that, the demographics for Guardians of the Galaxy is just completely out of this world. You have tiny little tots dressing up as Yondu and Groot and Rocket Raccoon and everybody like that, and then of course let me not forget Chris Pratt's character Star-Lord. So and then you have the guys your age and even older, and so it's quite a phenomenon.
Question about that. Since now you're in Guardians, you've been in some big films before, but like there's things like Slither, which was a fantastic film, more B-rated. What do you prefer out of the two? Would you rather be in a TV series, big box office movie, or a B-rated film?
I'm all for the one that pays me the most.
So the box office.
Yeah, no, not necessarily. Oh. Not necessarily. The bigger movies sometimes end up paying the least. And every now and then you get a film that's a little independent piece and they really, really want you. And so you're like the center of their piece. So you get paid a little bit more, you know, and then you sock it away, put it in the bank for a rainy day. And
speaking of those types of roles, I've noticed you do really well when you play characters who's like they have more going on than what they seem like in the surface, whether it be like those movies, even Days of Thunder, or even like The Walking Dead especially. Like, what is it about those types of roles? Like, what's your mindset when you try to pick a role and then act on it?
You know, sometimes you get it's all in the script, but as I say that, I'm shaking my head no, it's not all in the script. But it starts out with the script. And so usually actors, myself included here, would expand upon that. We have meetings with directors, meeting with the writers, and we try to a negative term would be pad the role, but in reality you're trying to fill out the role, you know, in your own mind, and perhaps some of what you're talking about will maybe even end up on screen. So we all do that, and so we make certain choices that will sort of substantiate the ideas and that we're thinking of, that we want to get across. And you know, and you make hopefully you make good choices, and I've been very fortunate in my creativity. My ideas tend to be a little bit out there and not necessarily the norm. So a lot of my stuff ends up being pretty unusual and cool and fun to watch, and hopefully it gets people thinking, because what you see is not what you necessarily get all the time, which is very cool for me, you know, because it's just a lot more fun when you're, I don't want to say fooling the audience, or you know, but it's a lot more fun when you're really trying to make it like real life, you know, because you're not what you seem. There's much more to you, and there's much more to you, you know. I mean, you know, there's things going on behind those eyes that, you know, could, you know, be its own story, right? So that's kind of what we try to do.
And speaking of my lookalike, Bruce Campbell, one of the things that surprised me when I was talking to him and he mentioned you, he says, "Oh, he's a great guy," and I asked him, like, what would you ask him if we were interviewing him? And he said, you know what, he's like, ask him about his family. And so I thought that was a pretty indicative answer as far as, I guess, where your priorities are. How important is family to you, especially when you're in a job that takes you away sometimes for a long time? And
well, you know, family is everything. So I have a big family. I have 5 sisters, and my mom's passed away, but my sisters are still causing problems out there somewhere. And I have my family, my immediate family. I have 2 daughters and and wife and a couple dogs and all kinds of fun stuff. So, and that's my home life, and it doesn't usually play into any of this kind of stuff. I like keeping my personal life fairly private, and I want to continue doing that. And so, but we all, it's tough. It's tough. You're going away, and you're on a movie for several weeks or months even. So it can be a tough life. So you try to visit and get back home as much as possible. And so, like, if you guys are reporters, in the future, sometime you may get a job or get a gig going out of town or something like that. It's kind of tough.
I've gone to other countries.
Yeah, right.
For a while.
Yeah, it's. Thank goodness for Skyping.
Yeah, like now we got Skype. Like I could talk to people, like even when I'm in Japan or something. It's even my friends are like, "This is great."
I know. I mean, if you got Wi-Fi, you get on, and if you got an iPhone, you can FaceTime, all that kind of stuff. All that really makes it easier. It makes it easier.
Now, James Gunn, I believe, has said several times that as far as the next Guardians, characters he would love to even feature more would include Yondu. What's in the works for Yondu in the next movie, and what do you think about, it looks like he'll be getting an even more prominent role?
You never know when it comes to Gunn. I mean, he's got something in his mind, and he's gonna follow through with, and I'm very fortunate and happy to have been involved with the first one. So getting a chance to expand on the role is kind of a lot of fun. That's going to be good, and because that's what I got to do in The Walking Dead, and that's why Merle Dixon ended up not being just a two-dimensional role. I think you sense that right from the start. Even the first episode, you see Merle doing certain things, and then the second episode, I'm doing something else, and it's like bringing out a little more of who this guy is, and so that's what I hope to do with Yondu, with this character in the second one. So we'll see. I'm anxious to see the script myself. So it's going to be great from what I hear.
Yeah, I'm really sure. Were you surprised how big it got? Because it was like a big risk for Marvel. I mean, the general public didn't really know about this set of characters unless you're like a hardcore comic book fan. Did you expect it to be as big as it was?
I don't think anyone really did. I read the script. I thought it was great, and I had a great cast. So you got a couple of the ducks lined up, and you just cross your fingers, do it the best you can, and hopefully it turns out fun, and audiences go see it, and more than once. The audience have been going to see this show 3, 4 times, 5 times. And I just read something where Gunn stated in, I think, his Instagram, where he wrote it that way. He wrote it so that audiences would still get other levels as they see. They get a first impression, then they go back, and you're going to have to go back a second time. In the theaters, you had to go back a second time because you couldn't hear the punchline for the next line, as like people are laughing, and they're laughing over 2 or 3 lines later. So you have to go back a second time at least just to get the full story. And but no, people go back 2, 3, 4, 5 times. They're loving it, and I'm wallowing in mud here. I'm like a pig, I'm digging it too.
I could only imagine how crazy that set might be with a character like you and Chris Pratt. Like, was it pretty fun, like filming it, or?
Chris and I are very similar, and I play a surrogate father in the piece Yondu, and I've raised him, to be as close to me as possible. so he can take care of himself in this crazy new world that he's going to be involved with. It's no longer Terra, so he's been taken from Earth, and he has to live in an environment where there are creatures and alien beings that will eat you, and I let him know that almost probably every day of his life. So I let him know that, and so but that was the basis of this relationship with me and Chris, because I was always letting him know. Oh, by the way, if you do wrong, if you don't listen to me, I'm going to give you to these guys, and they're going to eat you. You understand? So, and we play it up in the movie. So it's always fun to find a handle like that to play around with. Looks like they're calling me away, and I'm going to have to run away. And thank you for the interview, guys. You guys did great.
Thank you.
And what's your name again?
Jason.
Jason, why don't you tell who you are and where you're from?
I'm Jason Hidalgo. I'm originally from the Philippines. I'm a reporter with the Reno Gazette-Journal.
Bam. And you, sir?
Cameron, I'm from Reno, Nevada, and I'm IT with the Reno Gazette-Journal.
Well, there you go. Local guy, guy from Philippines, And look, hold hands. Let me see, hold hands. Okay. Go ahead, hold hands. It could be a shake. Go ahead, shake hands. Look at that. Friendship. Friendship is magic.
Thank you. Appreciate it.